Hey YouTube, this one's about teaching writing to kids who can't write well. Let me tell you what I mean by that. I have one of the viewers out here was watching my video that's called You Don't Have to Drown through middle school. And her comment is, this video is so good. I learned so much from it, and I'm glad I didn't buy any curriculum yet. I have a question about teaching writing. My sixth grader tells amazing stories and uses amazing vocabulary. However, when she actually has to write it down, it's like she's another person. She does have issues with spelling and some dyslexia tendencies. How would you suggest to teach formal writing? So I want to encourage you to step back and to make sure that you have your master homeschool goals in place. So if you don't know what master homeschool goals are, when you're done with this video, down in the descriptions below, or maybe even somewhere around this video at the end, there's a video that I did on master homeschool goals. They're different than curriculum. They're different than grade levels. Our goal for our sons when it came to writing was that by the time the boys graduated high school, they would be excellent communicators, both on paper and in oral form. And what that meant was that we never really used the words sixth grade writing, eighth grade writing, etc. Instead, we looked through the lens of what do you need to do to be an excellent communicator? Well, there's three no-nos of writing or communication. Know your audience. Who are you communicating to? Know the purpose of anything that you're writing down or communicating. In this viewer's case, it would be her daughter is looking to tell stories, so it would be to entertain. So know the audience, know the purpose, and know any specialized vocabulary that helps bring that piece of communication to life. There's a sneaky fourth one, and that would be as your kids get older, some things require a certain template, like a resume or a job application, etc. But you can keep that one tucked away for now. 3 no-nos of writing. My answer to this viewer, and my answer to anyone that has kids that are really creative but struggle writing it down, is that I want you to understand that those are 2 very different skill sets. If I had to choose between my child being massively creative and being able to write those ideas down, can you guess which one I would choose? You can use a recorder that is like voice to text to get your ideas out, but it's really hard to cultivate a creative mind. So put all your attention there on cultivating a creative mind. Now you do that by talking about stories, by reading books over and over and over again and letting language marinate your soul, your creative bucket, and listening to stories, watching movies together. Lean heavily on the literature side and lean heavily on books that are chunky and rich. And the chunkier they are, lean more into audiobooks if they're hard for you to pronounce out loud. So lots of read alouds, lots of books, lots of revisiting your favorite authors over and over again is going to fill that creative bucket for your child. So what about this piece of writing? Right from this age-ish, 6th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade, really start saying over and over and over again, there are 3 no-nos of writing. You have to know who you're writing to, why you're writing, and are there any specialized words that go with it. Honestly, that's it. Because if you were going to say you wanted to write me an email, well, run it through that filter. Who is it for? It's for Becky. What's the purpose? To tell her that you love her YouTube channel or that you hate her YouTube channel, whatever. There's a purpose behind that. And are there any specialized words that you would need to communicate? So you think through that and then you write the email. If you want to write a white paper that is filled with scientific data and facts and figures and vocabulary, you would need to identify, well, who is it for? Is it for a science journal? Okay, so it's for a science journal filled with scientific brainiac type people. What is the purpose? to inform them on the results of your data, the results of your experiments, the results of your research, right? And will there be specialized vocabulary? Yeah, because science it's a foreign language, right? So you would need the foreign language in order to communicate your findings to the scientists. And that you would write in a very particular way as well. So when you have kids that are filled with ideas and they love to tell you their stories, the first thing that I would tell you is this may be controversial, but don't grade their writing. Just give them a journal and let them fill it up. Just let them fill it up with all their goodness and all their imaginations and all their creativity. Don't let a red pen come anywhere near that creative journal. Let them write for the sake of writing, period. If they lose their words when they pick up a pencil, then give them access to things like a voice-to-text program where they can just talk and tell their story, and then the computer just fills in all the words. Or what I always did, I would sit at the computer and I would say, okay, I'm ready. And they would tell me the story and I would just type it away. Oh, that's so good. Wait, let me catch up. Okay. Because again, more interested in the creativity than the mechanics of the actual writing. The mechanics are easier. I remember a conversation with one of my sons, and he was struggling with the reality that his spelling wasn't up to par and that sometimes he misused punctuation marks. And I said, stop. You can hire an editor. You can hire somebody that can proofread your writing. But there's nobody on the planet that can write as well as you can in the way that you can because you are amazingly creative. And if I had to choose between those two things, I would pick creativity every single time. Period. Hands down. Now, will that mean that they will end up with holes in their ability to spell or punctuate? Maybe. Maybe not. It depends on how you approach those things as they get closer to high school and in high school. If you have a child that is delighting in learning and loving what they do, and they're excited to share ideas, and their character's rock solid, and your relationship is rock solid, you can do a boot camp for a week or two on punctuation and spelling rules and all this. You can fill in so many holes so quickly. But I would never ever emphasize the deficit of things like spelling or handwriting when compared to the beauty of the creativity of ideas that are flowing from your child's brain. So as far as what you use to teach grammar and the mechanics, is it a colon? Is it a semicolon? The things, what would you use for those things? If you asked 5 homeschoolers, you're going to get 12 different answers because those 5 homeschoolers have more than one child, and they're going to tell you that there is no perfect curriculum, and what worked for that child did not work for that child. So there's a little bit of experimentation when it comes to things like grammar and spelling. I personally loved and still love Evan Moor's materials, and I'll drop a link down below. The reason I liked Evan Moor was because they gave you just enough. You could get daily practice for grammar, daily practice for punctuation and capitalization and that kind of thing. And then you could spend the majority of your time enjoying stories together, developing and brainstorming ideas. Remember that most writing should not involve a pencil and paper when your kids are little. Most writing should be filling their imaginations with ideas and then them brainstorming ideas with you. Well, where could this story take place? What do you think it feels like there? What's the weather like there? Is the sun the same color as it is here? Okay, what time period? Just brainstorm. You want to expand their ability to dream about the things that they could put on paper later. I promise you it does catch up later, okay? And spelling is something that can get you looked down upon by lofty academic type people. I understand that. I do. I get that. But you can gird up their spelling along the way in little tiny bite-sized pieces. It's kind of like math facts where a little bit done consistently goes a long way over time. But most of the editing type things are in fact that. They're editing things. Any author, anywhere, writes their really bad draft first, and then they let it sit. And then they come back to it half an hour or a couple days or a couple weeks later. And then they read it again, and they cross out pieces and they add chunks in, and then they let it sit again. And then they look at words like big and they go, that's not quite the right word. Let's find a better word than big. And then they use magnificent or massive or humongous or large. Doesn't matter. The editing process is where you address spelling and punctuation and verb agreement and all those things. But leaning into the writing process, spending most of the time ideating, coming up with the ideas and brainstorming. You want your kids to lean into a new idea and to be excited to see where the story takes them. You don't want them to say, I have an idea for a story, but don't tell mom because I don't want her to have me, right? That's not the point. So focus on the ideas, focus on the brainstorming, find a simple to follow program that gives you 5 to 10 minutes a day, a couple days a week, 3 days a week, 5 days a week. It's really dealer's choice, so whatever works for you. Something easy to follow that gives you the daily practice of all sentences begin with a capital, all sentences end with some sort of punctuation, etc. Right? You want that kind of daily practice or continual practice, especially as they get older. But I would spend most of your time on creativity. It pays off in dividends in the end. I hope that helped.